The news of squatters taking advantage of legal loopholes that allow them to live in homes without paying rent in New York has garnered national news attention. What do you make of the situation?
This is a very dire situation in New York City, especially. New York City has the 30-day rule, all right? So somebody can actually, imagine this. You can leave for vacation, a vacation of a lifetime with your family. You're gone for 30 days. You come back and somebody's in your house, your apartment, and they say, well, they have every right to be here. So that you say, no, you don't, and the legal process starts. But the way the laws are written, they could be there up to a year before you even hear this in court. By that time, your property is destroyed. You're out of your house, your apartment, whatever it is. And this is the, the state of affairs in New York City right now. New York State, it's a little different, but it's still the same scenario. Squatters have certain rights, and they're applying them with illegal migrants and who are committing criminal acts on top of everything else. So that should take precedence over anything else.
I had a conversation with New York City Council member Vicky Palladino, and she said essentially the police's hands are tied here. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And the City Council, we only have a few voices up there, all right? And Joe Borelli being the biggest voice we have up there, you have to sit back and wonder what the City Council is doing. I mean, they destroyed the police department by taking away the indemnification, and they just doubled down on everything that they have right now going on, and they will not bend at all. They are not doing what's in the best interest of the residents of New York City. They most certainly are working on an agenda, and that agenda is costing people their livelihoods. It's costing people their lives, all right, because the crime issue is so bad right now. New York, the NYPD is doing their job to a degree. They're doing their job to the extent they're allowed to do their job. They're not allowed to be the cops they once were. So that's a big difference in New York City right now. And some council, city council members get it, most don't.
What do you think then is the agenda of the city council then?
The city council is the agenda of whatever the Democratic Party wants, all right? And that's the bottom line. You really have to be out of touch not to see what's going on right now in New York State. In Brooklyn, they have all the migrants over at Floyd Bennett Field. All right, that's where the NYPD has their emergency service unit and the aviation unit. All right, and there's 3 giant tents over there, and they come and go as they please. They're wreaking havoc through the neighborhood, and it's not even summertime yet. It's still, the cooler weather and the bad weather. Wait until summertime comes and they're really able to get out and get into the neighborhoods. People are worried about it right now. There's civic meetings about it right now. So that translates for one thing right now. The fact that they're here translates to votes. People see them as votes, potential votes. And I know that the governor is trying to get them jobs within New York State so they can pay their way while they're here. But meanwhile, we're funding them to the tune of every tax dollar. We're hemorrhaging money to them, and we're forgetting about our own residents. So it really doesn't make sense to me, but to the city council it does.
From the perspective of a former or retired member of the NYPD, rather, what do you think then is missing from the national conversation when it comes to squatters, when it comes to crime in New York?
The issue is crime right now, crime, and the way that people are so emboldened to just go into somebody's house, into somebody's property, and commit crimes and do what they. I mean, look at the poor woman that those 2 illegal migrants murdered in New York City. She came home and was like, "What are you guys doing here?" And next thing you know, they steal her car and they wound up catching them down in Philadelphia. So this is the state of affairs, not only here, but it's across the country, and it's mostly at, and you can point the finger to it, it's at liberal-based cities across the country that started the defund movement. They're doubling down on that as well. Now, in some areas, like in California, they're saying, wait a minute, this is not working. Well, we warned you about this a long time ago. What you're doing is going to have consequences, not just now, for decades, all right? Because you dismantled the first line of defense in this country, which is your police department.
I just had a larger conversation with a public defender in New York about crime in New York. Overall crime's down. Crime like rape, felony assault is up. We talked about bail reform, and she said bail reform is working. What's your reaction to that?
What planet is she living on? I mean, are we serious right now? Look what cost Officer Dilla, now posthumously Detective Dilla, his life. A recidivist that was out there, and they were out there to do dirty work, all right, to put it mildly. They were there, they were armed, All right, he had plans. He secreted a shiv in his body so that if he did get caught, he knew there's a chance he would get caught, so he had that. And these are two individuals that should have been in jail. But because of bail reform, they're out on the streets. Why? Because before we even get the paperwork done, the revolving door just lets them out. So these criminals should be incarcerated. So I don't know what part of bail reform she's referring to, but for the most part, I'll say 99% of it, it's not working because the wrong people are out on the street. Now, don't get me wrong. Bail reform was put there for a reason. You and I get arrested, all right? We do a burglary, all right? And we go in the house, and I have the means to get out on bail, and you don't. So you sit in jail until the case comes up, and I'm out doing whatever I want to do. That's where they wanted the equity to be, to be fair across the board with something like that. But now you're talking about repeat offenders, violent offenders, felonious offenders, all right? And they're out on the streets. Jails are there for a reason, all right? They're there for a reason. Most of the time they do not rehabilitate. They're just there because these individuals are career criminals, all right? I was a career law enforcement. You're a career journalist, all right? They're career criminals, all right? And you can't paint it any other way. And when you get to the point in your life where you just keep repeating the same crimes and you become progressively more violent, all right? You start taking people's lives or hurting people, then, something is wrong. And if this individual doesn't see that in bail reform, that's the problem. That's what people are looking to change right now. I don't know what TV they're watching, but you just walk through the streets in New York City and you'll see what's going on.